Hi, this is Dr. Eric Westman with another episode of Learn with Dr. Westman. And the topic today is, do people eat fewer calories on a low carb diet, or do calories matter? Of course, if you haven't downloaded my easy guide, Top 10 Tips to Start Keto the Right Way, look in the description below. Well, there's a lot of confusion about calories and carbs, and if you count carbs, do you have to count calories? And if you count calories, do you have to count carbs? And it becomes pretty overwhelmingly complex when it's really not that complex. It doesn't have to be. There's a lot of, expert like PhDs arguing the number of angels that can sit on the head of a pin. A lot of this discussion is not really practical. You know, it may be important to know how many angels can sit on the head of a pin, but the relevance to my clinic and your diet is pretty low. So the traditional idea that calories are the only thing you need to worry about is just not true. It's more complicated because a calorie is not a calorie. A calorie outside the human body is the same, but a calorie inside is different depending on what kind of molecule it's carried on and what sort of hormonal response comes from the molecule that has the calorie. The calorie is just a unit of energy, and so in a low carb diet, we don't teach worrying about calories. And at first, it works, I would say 95% of the time, to not even pay any attention to calories. Of course, in our method, we do limit the high-calorie items, kind of a very practical guide that I didn't create. I learned from doctors who had used this method over the last, I'd say 1970 to 2000, and then we picked up the method and started studying it. And so as I kind of reverse engineered how this works, the items that are really high in calories on the approach that I use, a low-carb diet with real food, the amount of cream, cheese, and mayonnaise is limited. And so while we don't explicitly say you need to watch the calories, there is a limitation on some of the high-calorie items that a lot of people overconsume when they don't learn it the way that we teach it. So what does that mean? Well, in our studies, going back through, 1998 is when we started our first study, and published papers 2002, 2004, 2006, 2008, through there. And then Dr. Yancey did some studies in the VA population, and now studies have been done all over the world. When you limit the carbs to a certain level, and it's usually 20 or 30 total grams per day, just about everyone eats less than before. And I say just about everyone. There are some exceptions that I'll get to in a moment. But so the limitation of carbohydrates forces or tricks, no, just allows your body to burn its own fat. And so when your body is able to burn its own fat, from inside your hunger goes down and you eat less automatically without having to count calories or the amount you eat. And that's where the big argument back and forth, and it was clear to me after our first study that people ate less, but we didn't have to tell them to eat less. So they ate less automatically. And I say that 95% of the time because there are some exceptions. In my clinic, so in a clinical population where I see people, just about everyone in their 50s and 60s in America today are on medications. They're on medicines for high blood pressure, for diabetes or prediabetes. They're on medicines for mental health issues, anxiety, depression, for allergies, and medicines can thwart the automatic appetite suppression that most people get on a low-carb diet. So if you're on medications and it's not working for you, please take advantage and see someone who's trained in this way so that they can help you get off the medicines that might be thwarting your effects. Let's say you're not on any of those medicines, what will happen after a couple days, your body turns into a fat burning machine. And in fact, every human becomes a fat burner when you stop eating for 3 days. So it's not uncommon or unusual, it's universal. Yes, when all humans stop eating, so going total fasting, people go into fat burning because that's what we store on our body. We store fat. Not fruit, not bread, not pasta, not rice. We store our energy as fat. So after just a couple days of not eating carbs, so you can eat the proteins and the fats within limits, your body starts burning its own fat. And compared to before, you will eat less automatically. And so after 1 or 2 days, the hunger is eliminated or normalized, we say. You start eating less. And in a clinic population, meaning the average age in my clinic is about 58 years old. Most are female, and the average BMI or an index of how much fat someone has on their body works well in a clinic, but not in a gym. The BMI in my clinic is about 35 on average. So people start eating less, and I typically see 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week. So that's 4 to 8 pounds per month without talking about calories, without counting calories, without writing down food or logging it, without apps. So that's the beauty and simplicity of using a low carb diet to reduce the amount that you eat, to reduce the calories. So yes, calories matter, but you don't have to worry about them at first for just about everyone. And back to our original studies, we saw that people were eating roughly 12 to 1,400 calories per day automatically. Compared to before, they were eating, say, 2,000 calories a day. So there's about a 500-600 calorie per day reduction compared to before, which leads to about 1 to 2 pounds per week. Even if you calculate things out the traditional way with calories, it all makes sense. So the way I see it is the way to get your body to burn its own fat, you have to take in less energy than you're expending, and those are measured in the form of calories. I don't really talk about calories though, because you'll eat less automatically and start accessing your body fat store and start using it. So you have to get the intake below your expenditure. And yeah, it's like an Excel spreadsheet for the course of the day of how many calories you're eating, but you don't have to count them, don't get me wrong. And then by the end of the day, you're intaking less than you expended, so your body starts accessing the fat store. You are allowing your body to access your fat store because you're not giving that insulin signal from the dietary carbohydrate that locks up the fat. In fact, insulin is worse. It takes the sugar and carbs that you're eating and turns it into fat and then stores it as fat. So it not only blocks the fat burning, it helps in the creation of fat and fat storage. So calories do matter. And so the way we talk about it and teach it is there's a section of foods on our lists that we have in various forms where the cheese, cream, mayonnaise, oils do have a limitation. Even though they may be 0 carbs, they're not 0 calories. So beware of that. And then if you're on, the most common medicines I see as things that make things slower, or it doesn't mean it can't work, but insulin, again, from inside your body, or if you're shooting it for diabetes from outside the body, taking it as a shot, insulin, prednisone, or steroids, even a steroid up the nose called Flonase nasal spray. These are things, about springtime, people come in, the weight loss is slowing. I always ask, why are you taking Flonase nasal spray? Because this is a steroid and it can slow down the fat burning. Other mental health medicines, they pretty much all can influence the appetite and even where the energy goes internally. So this will work pretty much 100%, except if you're on those kinds of medications or you have some sort of metabolic issue like diabetes or other complicating factor. If you do have those problems, it doesn't mean you can't do this, but please work with a practitioner who is trained in this sort of method. I just came from a meeting of the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners, which is a great resource. It's called SMHP, and they have 2 conferences a year called the Symposium for Metabolic Health, and that's a good place to go to see if you can find someone in your area to help you. So we don't count calories, we count carbs. What that does is it allows your body to start burning its own fat. If you have a long weight loss journey, let's say you're 100 pounds or 50 pounds into a journey of 100 pounds of weight loss or more, I might introduce the idea of cutting calories or monitoring calories or being aware of habit eating, where the calories can come in and you're not really eating because you need them. It's more of a habit. So at first I don't really bring that up. Most people don't have to worry about it. But if you're a year into this and you're at a plateau, you're really keeping the carbs super low, but you're not losing weight, then you may have to consciously reduce the number of times you eat or how much you eat, because you're now at a caloric or energy balance that, I know it's kind of a loaded word, but it matters. It just, calories don't count the way you normally would think they count. They matter. They do matter, and internally, depending on whether it's a carbohydrate or a protein or a fat, and the calories with those molecules changes depending on the hormonal response to those calories. So actually, everyone's right. Calories do matter, and carbohydrates and insulin matter at the end of the day. So there actually is one study of someone eating way too purposefully eating way too many calories. I think he ate about 5,500 calories per day for 3 weeks on 3 different diets, and he gained weight on a low-carb, high-fat keto diet. But he had to eat 5,000 calories a day, and what he found out, and it's just his one body, but is that he gained less weight on the low-calorie, low-carb diet than on the low-calorie, high-carb diet. Fascinating kind of straw man to disprove or to prove again. His name was Sam Feltham, and he's in the UK, and I helped him put his paper into a publication that's available in PubMed now. It's a research publication showing that he actually gained weight on a 5,000 calorie per day low-carb, high-fat diet. So a keto diet does not necessarily mean you're going to lose weight. It just means you're going to be burning fat. And if you're eating extra fat calories beyond what you're expending, you may gain weight even on a low-carb, high-fat keto diet. Complicated? No, not really. Just stick to the food list that we have. We have lots of different ways to teach it now, and including look in the description below, the top tips to start keto right. Be sure to, if you like this video, ring the bell, ring the notifications, send it to a friend, subscribe. It's a grassroots change that's happening, and I want to bring you along on this ride if you're ready. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.